Hey guys, Mike here. So today's cult classic review is 1984's Last Starfighter, starring Lance Guest as Alex Rogan. In The Last Starfighter, Alex recently beats the Last Starfighter video game and gets the high score, only to find out that this was a test, and he gets taken up to a planet where he joins the Last Starfighters to defend their planet against an alien invasion. And so we have The Last Starfighter. So guys, this is another movie in the series. Before watching and reviewing it today, I had not seen it before, nor had I ever heard of this one. So, what did I think of The Last Starfighter? Well, I gotta say, there are definitely a fair amount of things to praise this movie for. For one, like with a lot of old 80s sci-fi movies, the makeup and costume design and set design for all the aliens, spaceship rooms, and all stuff like that always looked excellent and very creative, and The Last Starfighter is no exception. The prosthetics and makeup used to create the aliens is just brilliant, and it still looks very good to this day. And though the sets do look very old and dated, you can tell a lot of effort was put into making them look very unique. And I would say the performances were fairly decent in this as well. Nothing groundbreaking, nothing amazing, it just did its job, and it did its job well. The story itself is really nothing original. It's pretty much just hero rises to the occasion and defeats evil. And while there isn't necessarily anything wrong with that, it just doesn't really help to make your movies stand out all that much. But I would say I had some fairly significant problems with this film. The first one being, I really didn't like the whole beta storyline in this. Basically what happens is when Alex is met by the aliens and told he's going with them to fight in the Last Starfighter crew or whatever, they leave behind this robot called a beta, which, upon contact, it starts to look exactly like Alex and act like him too. And I don't think this B story really kind of aided the movie very much. All it kind of did was make the movie a little bit longer and keep the love interest in the story. Because, you know, stories like this always have to have a love interest, even when it doesn't really add anything to the story. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't anything terrible, I didn't really think it was absolutely necessary, and if anything, it just distracted from the main story. And then that leads me into my other main criticism about this film. There's just no sense of danger or urgency really with this. Because he only really becomes the Last Starfighter by a fluke, just basically not being there when the station's attacked. It wasn't through any great character moments or feats of strength or ingenuity or anything like that. He just basically wasn't there when the attack happens, and by default he's the only one left. But then you think maybe he shows a bit more of his ingenuity with his friend a bit later on in the Starship Fighter. Well, that does happen. He does definitely show off that he is an excellent marksman when it comes to actually using the gun on the spaceship. But really, you kind of lose the sense of danger when the ship doesn't really take any damage or seem like it's going to be destroyed at any point. Though a bit of their ingenuity does come in when they decide to hide away from the fleet and then get the drop on them. I did think that was really good, and not necessarily something I've seen before. And actually thinking about it, it does kind of help tell that story that one person can make a difference and all you need is hope to defeat evil. And that definitely does come across, but maybe if the action was a bit more engaging, or if they struggled just a little bit more, it might have made the two of them feel a bit more compelling. But no, there was really no kind of sense of danger for the characters, so it was kind of a bit hard to get invested with them. And as well, the special effects in this movie are obviously very dated. Now, it's nothing you can really hold against the movie because it's very of its time and they were limited by the technology of their time. But it kind of does make you lose a bit of your investment in the story when you're kind of constantly focusing on how bad the effects are. Honestly, it wasn't that much of a big problem, it was just something I noticed. So guys, would I consider The Last Starfighter a personal cult classic, and would I recommend that you guys should see it? Though I can see a lot of merit with this movie, what with the costumes, the set, and the fun nature of the movie as a whole, I wouldn't personally put this as a cult classic for myself. Maybe if I'd actually grown up with this movie, I might have saw it in a different light. But seeing it now, it just didn't really grip me all that well. But I can definitely see why so many people hold this movie in such high regard. Because ultimately I'd say The Last Starfighter's biggest crime is that it's a little bit generic, but this movie was really fun. But as for whether or not you guys should see it, honestly, there are much better sci-fi movies out there which you should commit your time to rather than this one. I'm not saying to actively avoid this one, I'm just saying there are better things out there, seek them out first, but if you really want to check this one out, then by all means watch it. I think you'll have a decent time with it. Okay guys, that's my cult classic review of The Last Starfighter. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Whatever you think, drop it in the comments below. Until next time, I've been Michael. See ya!